Okay, so I mentioned in the comments section of my Knuckles Chaotix review that I was going to do a video about Sonic R after Sonic 3D Blast. Well, sorry Zombie Fobby, I lied. But not on purpose. It has actually just recently been brought to my attention that not only is Sonic 20 this year, but the Puyo Puyo series also turned 20 this year. So, I figured I'd review the game where the two cross paths, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. I've tried to not do games out of the order of their release, but I'm making an exception for this one because I never intended to review it in the first place. But here we are. Anyway, if you don't know, Puyo Puyo, or Puyo Pop as it became known in the US, is a puzzle game series created by Compile and owned in part by Sega. It was an arcade game in Japan and ported to many different game consoles. The second game in this series, Puyo Puyo I don't know how to pronounce it, has been ported to pretty much every console ever over the years, at least in Japan. In 2002, Compile went out of business and Sonic Team took over the rights to the franchise and continued to make games in the series to this day. 2002 was also the first time a Puyo Puyo game was ever released in the US with the Puyo name and characters. However, it had seen several releases in the US beforehand, one of which was Kirby's Avalanche on the Super Nintendo using the Kirby name and characters, and another was this game for the Sega Genesis, Master System, and Game Gear, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. This is actually the only game ever released based on the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog TV series, as the game features the design of Dr. Robotnik from that series, as well as many of his robots, including Coconut, Scratch, and Grounder. This is also the only Sonic game for the Genesis I didn't own as a kid, and honestly, I don't know why. Maybe it's because it was a puzzle game, maybe I rented it and didn't like it, or it could have been that it starred Dr. Robotnik, and I thought it was weird that the game starred the bad guy. I don't know the reasoning. I remember seeing it as in toy stores as a kid, but I never had it. Odd indeed. Anyway, other than having Dr. Robotnik and his robots in the game, it really isn't a Sonic game. It's just Puyo Puyo. These little blobs fall from the top of the screen, known as Puyo in Japan, but beans in this game, and you have to match up four of the same color to get them to disappear. You can use the way the beans fall and disappear to chain combos and send hard stone beans, often referred to as garbage by puzzle gamers, to the opponent's screen and make it more of a pain for them to clear their screen. If your beans pile too high and hit the top of the screen, much like Tetris, the game is over and the winner is decided. And the longer the game goes on with nobody losing, the faster beans fall. It's a classic puzzler and one of the best puzzle video game series of all time, though it is hard. The single-player mode is pretty ruthless. I can barely make it past Coconuts, and he's only the fourth opponent. Of 13! Yes, I am terrible at video games. Thank you for noticing, audience. And that's really all I have to say. Other than the fact that it features characters from the TV show, it really isn't a Sonic game. In fact, this game never saw a Japanese Genesis release because that cartoon was an American show. It wasn't until Sonic Mega Collection was released for the GameCube some 10 years later that Japan got it at all. Regardless, the game is a lot of fun, if not incredibly hard, because it's a tried and true puzzle formula. Plus, it is pretty awesome to see Scratch and Grounder in an actual Sonic game. Now, unfortunately, next time won't be Sonic R either, because I've decided to review another obscure Sonic game that most people didn't play until it saw a wide release as a part of Sonic Gems collection on the GameCube and PS2. I bet you know what it is. Stay tuned.